Someone once told me that to plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow, to have hope that tomorrow something beautiful will bloom. And I think that saying is correct. That when you till the ground, when you put a little seed in the ground, you are showing your faith in a God that will grow something beautiful in time. I recently had to leave Vermont as I was invited to guest preach in Miami. And while it was good to be away, I could not wait to get back to the peace of the green mountains, to get back to my neighbor's cows and to my garden. Of course, there's not that much peace right now as the workers are still installing the new roof. But amid the banging and the dog barking, I retreat to God's creation and I celebrate the abundance. There's enough rhubarb for pie, cobbler, and I'm trying a new recipe, rustic rhubarb bread. I'll let you know in another episode how it comes out. But many times, I just like to sit underneath the apple tree and look around and remember how good God is. To look around and see the blessings in everything, like the abundance of lilacs I have this year. I think the storm in January that knocked off a couple of branches, I think that was nature's way of pruning it, because I've never had this many lilac blooms. Every year I would make a big bouquet for my mom. And so, here you go, Mom. Here is your bouquet of lilacs. And friends, these lilacs are for you as well. I wish you could smell them with me. It is good to be back home in Vermont, where I'm now seeing with fresh new eyes the many blessings that are all around. The things that before my trip to Miami were starting to bother me are now gifts. So welcome, my friends, where there's plenty of room in this old kitchen for you to pull up a chair and join me as I talk about blessings. Many of you know that I'm a second career pastor, with my first career being that of magazine editor living in Manhattan. But in order to be ordained a minister of word and sacrament, I had to complete 3 months of hospital chaplaincy training, which was a challenge for me because I have white coat syndrome. I am scared to death of doctors and hospitals. Whenever I have to go for a checkup, my blood pressure when they take it is through the roof, and they have to take it several times throughout the checkup just to see if it comes down a bit as I try to calm down. Even though I struggled with the hospital chaplaincy training, I did learn a lot. One of my colleagues, whenever she entered into a room or left a room, she would always greet the patient with bendición. And I'm probably saying it wrong, but it was Spanish for what she said, blessing. And when I asked her about it, why did she always use that greeting when she entered and when she left? She said it was something that her grandmother always did. Whenever she said hello or goodbye, she would say bendición. And she said it would basically be a blessing. When I see you and when you leave, I want to bless you. I've been thinking a lot about blessings lately, and maybe it's because it's this time of year in the church. We have the celebration of Ascension when Jesus goes back up to heaven to be with his Father, and scripture tells us that before he leaves, he blesses his disciples. And I think also this time of year when there's a lot of graduations and weddings, there just seems to be a lot of moments in which we are invited to bless the moment and to really stop and slow down and savor the passing of time, to remember that our time is so precious that we should leave the blessing. And that's another saying that I discovered years ago, that somebody used to say, wherever you go, always leave the blessing. I wonder how come we don't bless one another anymore. What if, like my colleague at the hospital, whenever we entered into a room and met somebody, and whenever we left a room, that we left the blessing with them? Henry Nouwen, a Catholic priest and prolific author, he once wrote that a blessing is the most powerful thing that we can give to somebody. A blessing is that moment in which we are recognizing the other person's belovedness, that they are a beloved child of God. And when we bless them, we are seeing that divine in them. When we are just racing around every day with our lives, when we take everything for granted, just our daily schedules, we don't slow down enough to remember that every moment is a moment to bless. Every encounter is a moment when we could recognize another person's belovedness, how special they are, how worthy. Leave the blessing. And what is a blessing? John O'Donohue once wrote that a blessing is basically a circle that surrounds us, a circle of warmth and love and light. And it is God's way of saying that I see you and that I am always with you. In fact, goodbye was originally God be with you. And over the years, it got smushed to be goodbye. But originally, it was a way people said, I'll see you later. They would always send them off with God's blessings, with God be with you, with that reminder that wherever you go, God is with you. Right, Fritz? Yes. He still thinks he's a lap dog, and he's not. He's 100 pounds. So leave the blessing. I guess this is a short time that I wanted to share with you. It has been busy here. The roof work is still going on, and so there's very limited opportunities to film in peace and quiet. It should be another week and a half, because it's just the way it goes, construction. And of course, Fritz, whenever the camera goes on, he wants to be part of it. So I find it very hard sometimes to come to you and keep my cool, but I'm trying right now. And Fritz, why don't you go in the other room and say hi to Daddy? As I was saying, throughout it all, I keep thinking about the God moments, and I keep thinking how God is working through my life. And I want you to think each day, starting right now, that whatever is going on in your life, how can you leave the blessing? How can you see how God is at work in your life? And it is getting hard to do these videos. And I used to have more time and more quiet. And I've been struggling a lot with it all. When I was coming back from my most recent trip, I was getting on the airplane, and as I was about to board and there was a line, I just had this moment where I just looked up and I said to God, I'm tired. And all I heard was, I know. What are you going to do about it? And so that's where I'm at right now, thinking a lot about the blessing that Jesus gives his friends, that moment when he wants them to know that there is a circle of warmth and protection and light and love all around you. In Celtic spirituality, a blessing is an everyday occurrence. It's woven into the very fabric of your life. When you make a loaf of bread, you score a cross on top of the dough to bless it. You bless the house, you bless the stables, you bless the animals in the stable. You ask for that circle of warmth and love and light to be placed around yourself and your loved ones and your animals and whatever it might be? How can you leave the blessing in your comings, in your goings? How would it change our relationships if instead of saying goodbye, we went back to saying, God be with you? And how it would change your day if you greeted everyone like my colleague at the hospital did? What if, starting right now, we began to see one another as God's beloveds? Because that's who you are, beloved. Leave the blessing every time I greet someone and every time I say farewell to someone. I'm trying very hard to see that moment, no matter how ordinary it is. I'm trying to see that moment as sacred. As always, my friends, thank you so much for being part of Old Stonewall Farm, for joining me here, and for putting up with the season that I am in right now, a season of busyness and a lot of work going on. I am here with you, and I know that you are here with me. Until the next time, God be with you. I have white coat syndrome, so right, Fritz? Okay. Sit. No, not in front of the camera. Come on, over here. You're not a lap dog anymore. You know that? Okay. Hello, I'm over here. As I was saying, we'll be right back. Fritz. Oh, big boy. Oh.